It's finally time for another makeup declutter. It's been a while since I've been in the mood to clean out my makeup collection, but y'all have been asking me to declutter my blushes, bronzers, and highlights, and these are two drawers that I have definitely been putting off way too long. This is going to be a two-parter because you can see how long the video already is. I figured I'd make it a little easier on you. So let's start decluttering, but first, if you're new here, hi, my name is Miranda. Welcome to my channel where we talk all things budget beauty. If that sounds interesting to you, then become the newest member of the Slashed Squad by hitting subscribe and the bell icon. All right, so in front of me, I have the contents that sort of took over two different drawers of my makeup collection. At one point, they were more organized, but then I just had two drawers eventually that was mixed between blushes, bronzers, and highlights. So I have two containers of highlights to go through. I have various bronzers over here, and then I do think I'm going to save the blushes for a part 2 and do a dedicated video on those just because that is the biggest chunk of what was in these drawers. So I will set those aside for part 2, but I do think we have our hands full with just the bronzers and highlights. So why don't we go through the bronzers first, actually. All right, starting out with this liquid bronzer. This is from Flower Beauty. It's their Heatwave Bronzing Essence. This is sort of a mix-in type bronzing product that you can use in your foundation or your primer, and it adds somewhat of a bronzy golden glow to your look, and I don't find that it actually dramatically changes the shade of foundation as long as you're really diluting it. But as you can see, we've got a little bit more warmth here. And what's great is that the glow is not super glittery. It's not super shimmery. It really does just add this radiance underneath your foundation. You could even put this just on your face as like a skin tint if you wanted to as well. But I like to use it as a mix-in, and I did just get this, as you can see from how much is inside the bottle, so I'm gonna keep this. Now I wanna organize this by brand just because I do have so many of one brand. That's pretty obvious. I feel like I should actually title this video Decluttering My Physicians Formula Bronzers, because like, look at this. This is the Sephora Colorful Contour, and this is a product that I bought for my video I did a couple weeks ago of the cheapest makeup you could buy at Sephora. And I believe this was either $12 or $14. This was their house brand face powder. They have blushes and highlights in this formula, and this was kind of the only contour shade they offered. The one thing about this is that it's so gray. I'm not sure if you can tell here on camera. On the computer, when I was buying this, it looked like it was a cool toned brown, but in person, it is straight up gray. And technically, I've heard that this is sort of the accurate contour shade that people should be using because contour is supposed to mimic shadow on the face, and shadow is not warm. But I felt that on my skin tone in particular, this almost looked dirty on my face versus like a well-blended contour. And I mean, maybe that's my bad. I do think that with a little bit of practice, I might be able to get this to work. And it is something that I'm interested in playing with because I've heard so many pro makeup artists say that this is the type of shade that people should be using actually. So I'm gonna hold on to this, but I'm holding on to this in a very skeptical way. Next up, I have this palette. This is the Essence Sun Club Matte Bronzing Powder Palette. And I've used this really well. It is a very well-loved palette, but I don't know if like my skin tone is just changing, but I feel like these shades don't look good on me anymore. Like they all pull so warm. Maybe it's just because it's been winter and maybe in the summer they'll be a little bit better on me. This one, I don't think I can even use really as a, yeah, what is that? That is not my skin tone. Or rather, it's very close to my skin tone. These are the deep ones that I typically have to use in this palette. This one's not so bad. It's still definitely warm to use as a contour, but I can kind of use it like on the perimeters of my face for a bronze look. This is the one that I would use to contour with. And even still, when you blend it out, you do get that warmth behind it. So definitely something that I would probably find myself wearing maybe in the upcoming months. But every time I reach for this recently, I just must have lost a lot of color over winter because it just looks so stark against my skin tone for some reason. I might hold on to it. This is going to be a maybe, just because I think it's going to be more of a seasonal item for me. Now, these L'Oreal True Match Lumi Bronze It powders, I'm not sure if they still sell these because I think they were part of like a limited edition collection, and they also had those like crystal eyeshadow singles as part of the collection. One of these is clearly way lighter than the other. I think I opened this and used it by accident, not really thinking about what color it was, but yeah, that's not a bronzer for me. I believe this one works for me though. This one is called Deep. The other one is Medium. Now, I do like using this as a contour, but there is like a slight sheen to it. And in the actual pan, it has sort of like a shimmer spray over. I don't know what that's about, but this shade I can get more use out of for sure versus this like non-existent shade on me. Also, in one of my videos, somebody asked me like if I use the words contour and bronzer interchangeably. And I do feel like the makeup industry uses them interchangeably, so I have started to do the same, even though they're not necessarily the same type of product. Because like I said, this gray type of shade is a true contour shade, whereas the other things that I've showed you, like this Lumi Bronze It and this bronzing powder, these are definitely bronzers. They're meant to warm up the face and not necessarily sculpt the face. I just feel like over the years, the meaning of each one has become convoluted. So you'll kind of hear me go back and forth a little bit. Okay, we only have a few more till we tackle this Physicians Formula pile. Okay, speaking of contour though, this I'm like devastated that I believe Pixi just discontinued this. I recently got this at Target. It is their natural contour powder. And then I used it in a recent video and I was gonna link it. And it's no longer on the Target website and it's no longer on the Pixi website. And I'm like, what the heck? Because I think this is one of the most underrated contour shades, like a cool brown shade at the drugstore. Obviously, Pixi is a little bit more mid-range in price, but it's very, very rare to find cool toned bronzers or contours at the drugstore. So this is one that I used to use like religiously, and then I kind of rediscovered it. And I would say this has a lot more of a brown undertone versus that Sephora color. See, it's just like a little bit more subtle in the cool toneness. I kind of want to swatch it next to the Sephora one though. But it also has like an amazing formula. It is so smooth. Yeah, okay, can we just talk about this? Why is the Sephora shade literally gray? Like this is a little bit more my speed when it comes to a true contour shade. This just looked like I was trying to do zombie makeup on myself. But anyway, my point is, I don't know why this was discontinued or suddenly out of stock. I'm hoping it's just like a temporary supply chain situation because this is an amazing product. So if you can find this, like in store at Target, I would say pick it up while you can because it really does create a very natural looking contour on the face. Okay, looking at this side by side, I kind of want to declutter the Sephora powder because what is that? Okay, let me grab this palette. This is a face palette from a brand called Absolute New York. And this is a brand that you can typically find at like TJ Maxx and Marshalls and those kinds of stores. This is a full-on face palette though, where we've got blushes, bronzers, and highlights. Now, I'm not sure though if either of these matched me well. Let me see. Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah, neither of those could be used as a bronzer or a contour. If anything, this looks like a peach blush on me. Yikes. I'm wondering if I kept this palette solely for the highlights and blushes. Oh, that's like a bronzer. Well, no, that's just a dark highlight. Yeah, see, I'm not inclined to keep a palette like this if I'm not gonna be using at least 75% of the shades, right? So I think this one might be a declutter. That was only our second declutter. We're not doing too hot right now. Here's a product that I probably will declutter because actually for once it might be too dark for me. This is the Revolution Glow Splendor Ultra Matte Bronzer in medium, but the medium is actually kind of dark. It looks like I gouged it with a makeup brush at one point. But yeah, I remember this kind of just being a little stark on my skin tone. Yeah. I'll give it to Revolution Beauty though. Their bronzer shade range is like the best at the drugstore because a lot of bronzer products and lines do not go deep enough for like even tan skin. So I will give kudos where it's due, and I would say absolutely pick this up if you have darker skin than I do. But it's just usually my skin is considered medium in so many brands that I was assuming this would work for me, and it doesn't. I mean, I might be able to with a very, very light hand, and it is a good like semi-neutral / cool brown as well. I'm not necessarily sure why they call it glow though, because it's definitely matte. But yeah, I just stopped reaching for this because I felt like every time I put it on my skin, it was so dark that I really needed to spend extra time blending it out. And it's like, you know what, if I've got other products that just work a little bit easier for me, then I'll use those. So these are actually 2 of the same palette, just in different versions. This is their Nuance Quartet. I have Sugar Blossom, which this is like a blush and bronzer and highlight palette. Again, kind of like a full face situation. And then this one is Honey Nectar. And I think this one kind of worked for my skin tone a little better. Let's do the bronzer shade in each one. Yeah, I think the one in Sugar Blossom leaned more mauve. Let's see. Yeah. So this one is Honey Nectar. This one's Sugar Blossom. The bronzers, and Sugar Blossom looks like a straight up blush. Like it looks like a mauve blush on my skin tone, which would sort of defeat this being like an actual full face palette. And since we're technically decluttering highlights in this video as well, I will just go in and swatch these highlights. Now, if Pixi does anything well, it's highlights. Highlighting powders that are glowy and not glittery. So here is the Honey Nectar ones. Oh my gosh. How beautiful is that? They are just like metallic, reflective, gorgeous. And then here is the Sugar Blossom highlights. Woo, ooh, that one's really pretty. Ooh, this is kind of making me want to keep the Sugar Blossom one just for the highlights and the blush as well too. Okay, so I might set both of those aside and maybe we can revisit them in the blush declutter video. So the only high-end bronzer that I have is from NARS. It is in the shade Kirimba. This is one of their matte bronzers. They are just so silky and soft. Ooh. Like hella pigmented. They go on so evenly, even in just a finger swatch. This is a gorgeous color and formula. Blends out incredibly easy. So I might keep this. Is this a declutter or is this just a show and tell? I can't tell you. Okay, the other sort of high-end bronzer that I have is this one from The Balm. It's their Bahama Mama bronzer. And I did do a full video kind of catching up with The Balm. They are a brand that I used to love a lot and then just kind of forgot about. And this is one of the products that I used. I believe this is in like the $20-ish range. So honestly, not super far off from that of like Pixi, but this is another decently cool bronzer. This one though has a little bit of like a yellow undertone to it. I don't know, it's still kind of light on my skin tone. I think I remember saying that it reminded me a bit of Hoola bronzer by Benefit, but like just slightly more noticeable on my skin tone because Hoola is very, very light on me. I feel like I kind of have to build this up. That is kind of a weird undertone on me, is it not? I'm not sure. I might have to like test this on my face versus my arm. I'm like looking at it really close. I can't tell. Like, does it not look yellow? All right, this one might be a declutter. This is from the Misguided makeup line. Misguided is mostly a clothing retailer, but they did dabble in a beauty line last year. I did do a full video about it. This is their shade Dark in their Instant Vacay bronzer. I will say that all of their makeup was vegan, cruelty-free, and like under $15. So pretty dang affordable, and a lot of their formulas I was a big fan of. So again, this is dark, but does that look dark to you? No. I think typically what I do with this one is I swirl both of the shades. Yeah, on whom is this dark? Yeah, this is just like a little too orangey on me to even really want to use as a bronzer. Oh, that individual shade is a little bit better, but still very light. It's this dark shade that has the warmth. It's not awful. I just don't necessarily find these shades super flattering on me. I feel like I have to be careful about warm bronzers because I do have a little bit of a yellow undertone to my skin. And if a bronzer is too warm, then it will easily pull orange and make my skin look more yellow. So that's why it's like, I don't know if this really flatters my skin tone, even though it would add warmth. This is the Ulta Beauty Baked, Sculpt, and Glow palette. Now, I really like this, though I don't really think it's for sculpting because this is very warm on me. I definitely just use it as a bronzy glow product. And this specifically is in the shade Hawaiian Sunrise. They have a few versions of this. And I would say that this is probably the warmer of them. It's kind of like a golden bronzer here. And then we've got this blush in here and this highlight. Very, very summery. But when I use this, I'm using it in conjunction with another bronzer or sculpting product. I'm not using this like under my cheekbones, but maybe more so like in my temples and on my cheeks to warm them up. So that's why you're gonna see this and be like, Miranda, that is warmer than some of the ones that you decluttered, but the way that I use this is a little bit different. All right, let's dig in to the Physicians Formula pile. Now, some of these are actually brand new that I haven't even dipped into yet, so we'll be swatching them for the first time together. But one of these that I've owned for, I don't know, like 8 years is the Deep Butter Bronzer. I have literally had this same compact probably way longer than I should have, because now the normal butter bronzer line that isn't like all of these limited edition themed butter bronzers, these are now made in like the thinner compacts, which I very much appreciate. I don't know why they don't do that with all these other ones. I do think it might be time to declutter this, though I would be repurchasing it just because I've been using this so long. I think they even have a cooler, deeper shade now because they've expanded this line since I've purchased this particular one. But this is a really nice, like subtle bronzer slash contour on me. I can use this for both purposes because it is on the neutral side. It's not too warm. And the thing with the original butter bronzers is that they do have somewhat of like a sheen to them, but I would say once you start blending them out, they're pretty matte. But this is like a really, really good middle of the road shade when I'm not looking for something super strong and in your face, but it can add a little bit of color, but I like sculpting with this as well. I think that I'm due for a new compact because sometimes when you keep a powder too long and you're like double dipping your brush, you kind of get like these oil imprints. I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but I can see that there's some of my face oil like embedded in the powder at this point, and that's not great to be like reapplying to my face. So I think it's finally time to just declutter that, but I will be picking up a new one in the new packaging as well. So that'll be a lot more travel friendly. Now, one that I've actually been using a lot is this one, which was from their like coffee, was it coffee or like treat themed bronzers? But this is the Butter Coffee Bronzer in Latte. And this one is definitely another one that's very warm and more so for adding warmth to the face versus sculpting. So I have used that a few times for that purpose, but definitely not for contouring. See, like, does anyone actually use these? This packaging is so useless. I'm not sure if I necessarily need another one of those because I do kind of prefer the Ulta one for that reason. I feel like those shades are very similar. So let me just put that aside down there. Here we have the Butter Donut Bronzer. And this one's interesting because it is a bronzer, but we have these like little highlight sprinkles, but the highlight shade is a spray over. So at some point you're gonna lose that like novelty. Like today, we're losing the novelty. This one definitely lighter than my skin almost. Like if you look over here, yeah, that one needs to be decluttered. Now this one is definitely going to be a declutter as well. They did come out with their matte Monoi butter bronzers, and this is the shade Matte Sun Kissed. I think there's one other one in this line that would work better for me, but this is the one they had sent me when the line first came out, and I was like, I also am not a huge fan of the matte Monoi scent. I really like the classic butter bronzer scent. Let's go through these three, which I actually have not opened yet. So let's see how the shades look on me. This is the Butter Cake Bronzer in Chocolate. And this kind of has layers to it. Oh my gosh. Okay, that smells delicious. So this is definitely going to be a shimmery bronzer because we do have this stripe of highlight. I never really know what to do with these because like I'm not going to sit there and just pick up one shade with a brush, you know what I mean? Okay, interesting. I mean, it's very shimmery, so this would definitely have to be a product that I would use to add warmth and not to sculpt at all. It also kind of has like a red undertone to it. I'm not sure. It looks almost pink on my skin. Set that aside. This is one of their newer ones, the Bread and Butter Bronzer in Baked. This looks pretty promising. Let's check it out. Ooh, okay, that actually might work to sculpt. It's got a little bit more of a neutral undertone than this one, if you can tell, and it is completely matte. So I think I will go ahead and keep that. Okay, this is the Butter Cookie Bronzer, which again, I don't really know what to do with this core, which is like straight up pink. It's gonna make it look more like a blush on me. This is in the shade Sugar. I guess you could just go around and not get the pink at all. Ooh, a little light, a little orange. Okay, what happens if I just go through the middle? Oh, no. As far as these two go that I put aside, I'm going to give this one to a friend because this was literally brand new and I just dipped my finger into it. So I'm going to give that to a friend. I'm going to keep the Butter Coffee one because I do like this to add warmth. And that leads us into highlights now because this last Physicians Formula compact is their new Let's Toast highlight in Champagne. Super cute. Let's just do it. Oh, come on. That was just a spray over. Okay, so I'm gonna do one swatch with the spray over and now another swatch with like the actual formula. Look at that shade difference. I don't know if you might not be able to tell that it's that drastic on camera, but like it's different. It's for sure different. Okay, here's the spray over shade. That's so pretty. Okay, here it is. Like, this is what you're actually gonna get once that spray over's gone. So the spray over shade, I can see in the monitor that they don't really look that different. The spray over shade is like slightly pink, but the shade that you're actually gonna be stuck with once you get rid of the spray over is more of a golden champagne, and I absolutely love it. This is so beautiful, so soft. It's not shimmery at all or glittery. It's very much pigment based, which is my preferred highlight, as you'll be able to see once we start going through this. So this is going to be my first highlight keep of the day. Going into the highlight section of this video, I have split these up between liquid and cream highlights and powder highlights. Let's just go through the creams first. So I actually have a few of these little compacts from Shop Miss A and their brand AOA. These are their Dewy cream highlights, and what I really like about these highlights is that they're very shifty. They're almost like iridescent, especially this shade in Grace. They have like almost a Vaseline-y consistency. It's very slick. Grace has a bit of a purple undertone to it, like purple and pink. Definitely a novelty highlight, but this would look gorgeous even as an everyday highlight on a little bit more paler skin than I have. For me, it kind of leans festival. This one is called Haze, which is sort of like a champagne gold. It's actually more like a yellow gold now that I've seeing it swatched. And then this one is Opal. This one is again a little bit on the iridescent side where it has a pink and gold shift to it. Now I've had these all for a while, at least several years, and that's not necessarily the best move when it comes to cream products. And here's my thing. I've kept these through several rounds of declutter now, saying like, oh, I'm gonna wish I had a purple highlight for like a special look, and then I never reach for them. So as much as this is a really cool formula, it's a very thin and lightweight cream highlight, and obviously really cool colors, I just don't use them. I just don't use them. So I think it's time to declutter them. Another one from AOA that I actually do really enjoy is this Glow Baby liquid highlighter. So cute. They do have like a, I think, 6-piece set of all of their shades, but this one is Golden Rose. I love a liquid highlight. I feel like they always look just a little bit more glowy and bouncy and almost like your natural skin, just way more glowy. This sort of reminds me of the L'Oreal Lumi Glotion, just a bit more intense. And you could absolutely use this in the same way though, where like you can mix this in with your moisturizer or your foundation, or you can top your cheeks with this and use it as a straight up highlight. And I actually do have the Lumi Glotion to compare this to. Why don't we do that? But again, very lightweight and just gives you this sort of reflective radiance that is not glittery, not shimmery. You'll see that that is my preference when it comes to highlight. Now, this I might actually have to declutter because again, this is a very old tube. This is in the shade Light Glow. And I want to say it's a similar color. I just feel like the Lumi Glotions, oh, wow. I was gonna say the Lumi Glotions are a little bit more subtle, but honestly, no. I got a lot of nice glow with this. And again, this is a product that I have used as a mix-in, that I've used on its own. It looks like the Lumi Glotion is just a bit more pink than the Rose Glow AOA. Now, I will declutter this, although it is something that will probably be back in my collection soon because I love it. But for now, I think I'm totally fine just holding on to the AOA Glow Baby and using this for the same purposes. Now, while I have these on my arm, I also want to swatch the Believe Beauty All Over Glow. This is exclusive to Dollar General, and I'm very sad to report that my Dollar General closed during the pandemic. If you're wondering why you're seeing a little bit less Believe Beauty on my channel recently, that's why, because I can't just go shop the end cap. I have actually reached out to them to see if I can get them to send me some of their new stuff to try out for y'all because I really did love this brand. I just haven't been able to try their new stuff because I can't just go in and grab it myself. I have to kind of rely on PR with this brand specifically. But I did compare this, I think in a TikTok, to the Lumi Glotion, and this one was a lot more intense, very much, more metallic, a little bit of a thicker formula as well. So if you're more of like an intense, in-your-face highlight kind of person, then this is the one that you'd want to choose. Like, look at that difference. In fact, I would almost say that the AOA and the Lumi, like if the shades matched up, which I have more shades of the AOA, I should probably look, but those could totally be dupes in like the intensity. This is just like on another level. Now, I can tell from the consistency of this though, that it's probably time to toss it. Again, this is a tube that I've had for a while, but I'm not sure if you can see, there's like kind of chunkiness to some of this, and that it would not look good on the face. Whenever you have a product and the consistency is not what it used to be, that is a good indicator that it is time to toss. Another one that I think is definitely time to get rid of, even though it's beautiful, it's just I've had this for years now. This is the Physicians Formula Organic Wear Dewy Highlighter. This was like my go-to drugstore highlighter for so long. This is in the shade Dew Frost. Yeah, it's pretty dried up right now, so the swatch is not going to be the best, but kind of a neutral / pinky highlight. I really like stick makeup, but it really does have to be a fresh tube because with how stiff it is now, this would totally like drag my makeup around. Speaking of stick makeup, we do have a few other stick products in here. This one is the ColourPop Light Sticks. I'm not sure if they've discontinued these or not because I can never be sure with ColourPop. They're discontinuing things left and right all the time. I did buy this at Ulta though in the shade Acting Up, and this was like, oh, ooh. I think that Physicians Formula is so old that I'm reacting to it. See, this is why it's important to pay attention to how long you've been holding on to products. Like, I'm immediately feeling it right here, even though I took it off really fast. Back to this. This is a shade that's like almost too dark for me. I think it's a beautiful formula and a really nice finish, but on my face, this ends up looking more like a highlighting blush than a highlight. So I almost never use it. All right, another stick highlight that I have is from Undone Beauty, which is a clean and minimalist beauty brand. They started on Amazon mostly, but now you can find them at Target. This is their Gold Lit highlighter. Now this is a water highlighter which I think means it's water-based. It definitely has kind of that thin and slick feel to it. Ew, what's on it? Ew, what is on it? Not sure if you can see that texture. It might be the ingredients in it separating, but that is what it looks like. It's slightly dark for my skin tone. Like, it's a really beautiful gold, obviously catches the light in a beautiful way. So that is gonna be a Declutter. Now this stick, again, this was from the Sephora video that I just did, the cheapest makeup at Sephora. This is from their S Clean line, their clean glowing multi-stick, and it was a little bit of a letdown because I thought it was gonna be more of a glass skin product, and then it just turned into a glitter bomb. I'm gonna put this on the back of my hand so that my other swatches don't get compromised. Like, there definitely is a little bit of that wet look, but it's just packed with chunky glitter, and that is not my vibe. I almost wish that it was just a face gloss and they hadn't put in all of this glitter. I just do not think that it looks good at all. So this is gonna probably go to a friend because it is relatively new. I only just bought it for that video. Although, wait, I'm thinking about it. This could be a good like body glitter stick because I can put the glitter exactly where I want. Oh no, but then it'll stay dewy and then it'll get on my clothes. Ugh, yeah, like what do I use this for? Oh, here is another product from the Misguided makeup line. This is their High Lit liquid highlighter in the shade Prinks. Now this one I haven't used, I think, since that video that I did. So I'm not sure if, I feel like it could use a little bit of a shake. I think the formula might be separating a little bit, which is an indicator that it's a little past its prime, but let's try again. Okay, that's a little better. This one had just like a lot of oil sitting on top. Okay, not bad. It's kind of a pinky champagne, very lightweight. Even though this looks absolutely gorgeous and has like a really nice metallic look to it, when it's not catching the light, it is darker than my skin. So that means like at most angles, this is gonna look like I have darkness at the tops of my cheeks, which obviously is not a vibe. And the final one in this bucket is the Flower Beauty Day Glow Highlighting Glaze. This is in the shade Ablaze. Now this is very much like a sort of wet glossy highlight, and it just adds that kind of slick highlight to your face. Now I will say that this one is also slightly deep for my skin tone. I really want to get this formula in another shade because I do like the look. It really makes your skin look bouncy and glowy kind of naturally. As you can see, it's a little dark even when it is catching the light. All right, let's dive into the powder highlights and finish off this video. First on the top is one of my most used highlights, the Becca Champagne Pop. Becca did go out of business as a result of the pandemic, which is absolutely heartbreaking. However, Smashbox actually bought out like the rights to keep producing some of their products, and this is one of them. So Champagne Pop lives to see another day, but this is one of those products where I will absolutely always have this in my collection as long as it's around. I think that this is one of the most flattering powder highlights because it is so pigment forward, it's silky, it blends out beautifully, and the shade is just the best match for me at least. I know they do have this highlight in a few other shades as well, but this sort of neutral champagne, it doesn't lean too gold, it's not pink at all. It is just a really nice universal highlight for whatever look I'm going for. And that is just one little layer, but it does build up very easily, and you can get a little bit more of that metallic look. I never really understood the hype of this highlighter when it was kind of in its prime on YouTube. But then every time I asked somebody like on the street, like, oh my God, your highlight's so pretty, what are you wearing? It was always this one. So I was like, okay, I just need to get that highlight, and I have owned it ever since. Next up, we have this gem at the drugstore. It is the Essence Pure Nude Sunlighter. This is in the shade Be My Sunlight. This is a really great everyday highlighter because it's just not too in your face, but it definitely adds a noticeable glow. And again, this is a highlight that is very much sheen and not glitter. And I think Essence has some of the most affordable highlights that fall under this category at the drugstore. It has a little bit of that kind of baked consistency. It goes on very smoothly, and I just love recommending this because I think it's only like $2.99, so I am gonna hold on to this. Now, another one that sort of has a baked consistency, but I don't know, the finish is a little bit more metallic. This is the Koki Soft Glow Highlighter in Heavenly, and this again is a little bit of a golden champagne, and I do have a coupon code for Koki's website. You can get 25% off with the code /beauty, so check that out. This is like slightly softer than a baked highlight, I would say. Here you can see the finish is a bit more opaque, a little bit more intense, and honestly, I forget about this highlight. I think I've kept it through a few declutters now, and I'm like, wow, this is really pretty. This is a nice impact. It looks great on my skin tone, and then I never use it. But again, no noticeable shimmer particles, no glitter. I'm gonna keep this for one more declutter, and if I don't use it by the next time I declutter this drawer, then I will toss it. Next, we have this Mineral Wear Diamond Dust from Physicians Formula. Now, this product has always slightly confused me because I feel like they advertised this as a highlight. It doesn't really deposit a lot of glow with a brush. I think that this is more of a glittery finishing powder because I feel like this just deposits more sporadic glitter versus like a beam of highlight. You know what I mean? Like there's not a focused application to this, I think is a better way for me to put this. It is pretty, like the glitter is on the finer side. I could see myself using a big brush and putting this on like my shoulders or my chest for a night out, but there's no way that I would use this on my face. It would just be a glitter bomb. I'm not sure, is it registering? Yeah, you can kind of see it there. Really pretty, but I will keep it solely as a body highlight. Okay, here I have a Catkin highlight. So Catkin is a makeup brand from China. They sell on Amazon and they have the most beautiful packaging and honestly really great formulas for pretty cheap. I mean, it's not necessarily drugstore priced. I would say maybe just like slightly higher, maybe like between drugstore and mid-range for a lot of their products. So this is their highlighter in C01, and this is like a very silvery or white highlighter. I would say this is a bit better suited for paler skin tones, but I'll just show you what it looks like. Like I can see a little bit of maybe a bluish undertone to it. So I don't know if this would necessarily look great on my skin being a little bit like light medium-y. Maybe I'll try it out because I don't think I've ever actually put this on my face. I've just been hoarding it because it's such a beautiful compact. But I remember taking one look at it and being like, I think that might be a little too stark on my skin tone, but it is really, really pretty. So maybe I would just have to find the right look to pair this with. Now here's another higher end product I have. This is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Palette. I believe I got this during an Ulta 21 Days of Beauty. I definitely did not pay full price for this. And I held on to it, not because I use it all the time, but because I wanted to dupe it. And I did find a dupe for this middle shade. So this middle shade is duped by the Honest Beauty Luminizing Glow Powder in Midnight Reflection. They both sort of have that like soft highlight look. It's not metallic, it's not shimmery, it just has the most subtle radiance to it. So when it's blended on the skin, it looks very natural. And that is one of the reasons why I love to hang on to some of these higher end products. Even if I'm not using them regularly, I do love to dupe them for y'all. So I will be keeping both of these. Next up, we have the Maybelline Master Chrome. This is definitely one of the more flashy drugstore highlights I feel like you can pick up. This is in the shade Molten Gold, and that's exactly what it looks like. This is such a soft formula, totally opaque in one swipe. It is super, super high impact. I absolutely love this shade. And I've had this for probably longer than I should have, although powders do better in terms of like expiration dates because bacteria is a little bit less prone to growing in a dry environment like powders. Do as I say, not as I do though, and keep track of when you buy products so you can get rid of them before they give you irritation. Okay, I forgot that I had this Ofra highlight. This again was an Ulta 21 Days of Beauty find. It's their highlighter in Rodeo Drive. Really, really pretty, kind of golden champagne. This has a lot more of a stiffer texture, but a similar metallic finish to the Maybelline. I don't know, it's not like overwhelmingly bringing me joy. I feel like we've kept something like it. I mean, I haven't reached for this for a long time, hence it being at the bottom of the drawer. I think I might declutter this one. Okay, this one is gonna be a little bit of a pain to swatch. This is the AOA Pow Lighter. This is a loose powder highlight. Now, this is beautiful. This is gorgeous. It's high impact. You can apply it softly, but I will say this is for when you want to make a statement. However, this packaging sucks. I don't know if you can see the bottom of this basket, but it's covered in this product because the sifter is ridiculous and lets way too much powder out for the texture of this product because it is so fine. The thing that I always say about AOA is that they really do put their effort into the formulas, which obviously is great. But then when the packaging falls short like this, and it's the packaging that's cheap, and that's why you're getting it for $1, sometimes it's almost not worth it because now I'm wasting so much product, but I cannot tell you how soft and fine this is. This is in the shade Nebula. Now this one is more of a shimmery highlight. Like when you look at it, I can see small glitter particles. I don't think it glitter bombs the whole look, if you know what I mean, but it does get everywhere. I rarely reach for this because of how messy it is, and I don't want to be covered in it, and I don't want to compromise my look if it gets, you know, in places where I don't want it to be. Beautiful shade, beautiful finish. The packaging is so inconvenient that I am gonna declutter it because I never use it because look what happens. All right, what is next? We have another AOA highlighter. This is their Halo highlighter. And this again is a little bit of that baked texture, very soft and silky. And this is the shade Sunstone. Kind of a neutral gold, or is it champagne? Honestly, I can't see it very much on my skin tone, huh? Yeah, that's not doing a lot for me. Next up, we have this one from W7, which is a brand that you can get in like TJ Maxx and those types of stores, although I think they're a little bit more like drugstore in the UK. This is their Glow Commotion Shimmer Highlighter and Eyeshadow. There is no shade. I guess it's just one kind of product. This is another one that I feel like I have kept declutter after declutter and then I never use. It's okay. Sorry, I kept the other swatch. I forgot to wipe it off. It is a neutral champagne. I feel like we've kept enough from other brands that might be a little bit more accessible. Yeah, I've had this for a while and I like never use it. Now talking about products that I never use, this is the Wet n Wild Hello Halo Blush Lighter. This is the shade I Met Someone. So this is like a blush and highlighter duo, but the blush is also extremely glowy. And I don't really know what to do with that because when I put it on my cheeks as blush, it's just like almost frosty and it's not my favorite look ever. The highlight in this is beautiful. I think it's perfect for my skin tone. It is a sort of pinky champagne and the blush shade is really pretty as well. I just think that when I put that all over my cheeks, it gives lots of texture. It's giving a little 90s, which I know some trends are back, but maybe if I just play around with it more, figure out what the best way to use that would be, because I am a fan of Wet n Wild. Speaking of, we've got their Mega Glow highlighting powder in the shade Golden Flower Crown. My compact recently broke, which is sad. The actual powder is still intact, so I might hold on to this, but this is not something that I can see myself traveling with anymore. This is my absolute favorite drugstore highlight. I think that this is like the perfect glowy highlight. Really gives you that nice metallic look. It's not so intense like the Maybelline one, so you can use this a little bit more as an everyday highlighting shade in my opinion, but if you build it up, the intensity is there for sure. So I would say this is like the most versatile drugstore highlight. Again, I believe it's about $5. Ooh, here we have another ColourPop highlighter. This is their Super Shock Cheek in Wisp. This one I actually really do enjoy, and even though it looks really metallic and glowy in the pan, I feel like it applies a little softer once you start blending it out. See, it's not like super in your face, but it's definitely a really pretty everyday highlight. It's almost a pinky golden champagne shift. Like, it really depends on what angle you're looking at it. On my skin tone, it almost matches my skin tone and just creates like a glow. I am gonna keep that one. I have two Physicians Formula Butter Highlighters. I gotta admit, I haven't used these in a while, even though the Butter Highlighter formula is so nice. This is in the shade Champagne. I think this was like my most used one. Oh my God. It's like so soft that it's almost creamy. There's almost a creamy consistency to it. So there's Champagne. You know, this really does lean a little bit more gold than Champagne in my eyes. Then we have this Butter Highlighter in Pearl. This one's kind of a white iridescent-y one. I'm really surprised, I will say. I've had these for a long time. Since they first launched, this is the one that they sent me in PR, and it hasn't dried out. Like, they really do have their formulas down. I don't think that's super flattering on me. It might be just a little too cool. I'm not sure. Yeah, there's like kind of a white pink iridescent shift to that. I think I'm gonna declutter the Champagne one, which is really gold, and then I will keep the Pearl one because it's just a little bit different enough from everything else I'm keeping. I feel like I have so much Champagne in my keep pile already. All right, down to the last three. Here's the last Drugstore one. This is from Revolution. It is their Strobe Highlighter from their XX Revolution line. Really pretty Champagne. Again, like you can tell, I obviously have a preference in shades. Ooh, why do I never use this? Whoa, that is beautiful. Oh, wow. It's a little dark at the wrong angle. Oh, it's so pretty. That's also different too, because I don't feel like I've kept a lot of pink champagnes. I've kept a lot of golden or neutral. Okay, I might hold on to that and see if when it's applied to my face, if it looks that dark at the non-glowy angles. All right, we've got this Tarte Highlight. I think this was another, these both were Ulta 21 Days of Beauty finds. This is in Stunner. It's their Amazonian Clay Highlighter. I absolutely love their Amazonian Clay formula. Such a blendable powder formula. Holy cow. Ooh. That is definitely different than everything else that I have that I've kept. I can't, like, it's sort of like a mauve highlighter. There's definitely like pinky purpley undertones to it looking at it in person. I'm not sure if you're able to see that on camera, but that is really pretty. I'm gonna keep that. And finally, we have this Cover FX. This is a duo, monochromatic blush duo in Pink Dahlia. So technically, I think we're gonna have to save this for part 2, which is the blush declutter. We done, y'all. Okay, this makeup declutter started out a little rocky, but by the end, I did declutter about half of my highlighters and bronzers. Don't forget to hit subscribe and stay tuned for my blush declutter next. Today's shout out goes to Zakari. Thanks for being a member of the Slashed Squad. And join me over in this video next where I share the ultimate special event drugstore makeup routine, perfect for wedding season and prom season and anything else you got going on. I'll see you over there. Bye!